Steven Spielberg is back and I could not be happier. I have said many times that he is my all-time favourite director. He has made some of my favourite movies of all time, and his new movie centres around extraterrestrials. Again. Steven Spielberg loves his extraterrestrials. I'm starting to think that he is one, or he's working with them, and just making extraterrestrial propaganda. Except for maybe War of the Worlds. That's not really good propaganda. So his new movie Disclosure Day stars Emily Blunt, Josh O'Connor, and Colin Firth, and it centres around a cybersecurity expert who becomes a whistleblower to reveal secrets about aliens, putting him on the run from a corporation while a meteorologist experiences strange phenomena and joins forces with him to prove there's life beyond our knowledge. This movie was marketed to be a realistic depiction of how the world would react if we found out that aliens were real, and I think that's a really interesting idea, and I do think this movie delivers that central theme really well. I thought Disclosure Day was absolutely fantastic. However, and this is my only big issue with the movie, because this was marketed as a realistic depiction, every time something out of pocket happens or something that's not really realistic, it kind of takes away from the impact of this movie. The dialogue really affects this because it felt like sometimes it was being written by a 12-year-old who just needs a really big hard-hitting line at the end of every single scene. And then you have that moment in the trailer with the train and Emily Blunt and Josh O'Connor trying to climb on top of it from their car. That scene was the worst moment in the movie because it was just so ridiculous. But even though this movie does have a few ridiculous moments, it never fully took away from what this movie was trying to say. What I really appreciated about this movie is that it delves into how certain communities would react if we discovered aliens. It mainly delves into how certain religious groups would react if we discovered aliens, and it centres around this nun character who poses a very important and very thought-provoking question. Why would God create such a vast universe if he only made it for us? That moment right there hammers home the main message of this movie, something that I will get into in a bit. But what this movie is, it's essentially a cat and mouse chase movie, and that's something that Spielberg really specialises in. Most of this movie is Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt running away from this organisation, but it's thrilling because there's an element of mystery surrounding these characters. They have abilities that no one else has. Why do they have them? So you're intrigued by them. And even when we're not focusing on them, there's still an element of mystery. Mainly when we focus on Colman Domingo's character, we cut to him at several points throughout this movie. And he's on this like movie set and you're wondering, why is this important? Why are we focusing on this set? And I also really appreciated how Spielberg handled the main villain of this movie. Colin Firth plays the leader of this organisation that covered up the aliens, and he could have easily been this mustache-twirling villain that kills anyone that gets in his way, and he'll kill Josh O'Connor and Emily Blunt if he has to. But he's just trying to do his job and just trying to keep this all secret. But you can also tell he's conflicted about his morals. And I absolutely loved his ending because he just performs one simple action. We all do it every day. And it says a lot about his character. And it was a very satisfying ending to his arc. In fact, I loved the entire ending of this movie. After what we've been through throughout this entire experience, it's just a quiet and intimate moment. In fact, I loved the entirety of this. In fact, I loved the entire ending of this movie. I loved the overall ending of this movie. After what we've been through throughout this entire experience, it ends on a quiet and intimate moment. The main message of this movie centres around togetherness and how a phenomenon like this can bring everyone together and make us understand life and each other a little bit more. It was just a beautiful ending, and the message of this movie could not have been hammered home more than the final line of this movie, or should I say the final word. That one final word says a lot. I also think this movie worked very well on a technical level. Spielberg movies have always looked very dreamlike in a sense, and I think that effect worked very well for this movie. There are moments in this movie that are very strange, so giving them this dreamlike look just made them seem even more imaginative. John Williams is back on the score, and I don't need to tell you it's great. Of course it's great. It's John Williams. This guy never misses. It's an epic, sweeping score, sometimes tense score. The only issue I did have with the technical aspects was the CGI. For the most part, the CGI looked really good. but there are a few shots in this movie that could have had a few more weeks of work because they looked really, really rough. And I also really love the acting in this movie. Josh O'Connor, Emily Blunt, they're fantastic actors. They do a great job in this movie. They had really, really good chemistry. I especially really liked Emily Blunt's performance. Her character is so all over the place in this movie. She cannot fully comprehend what is going on. And I thought she delivered the stressful moments really, really well. Colin Firth was really, really strong as the villain. Eve Hewson was really good as well. However, I would have liked her to be in this movie just a little bit more. She kind of disappears for the entire third act and then reappears at the end, and that was quite disappointing. Also, a massive shout out to Henry Lloyd Hughes. This guy played Donovan in one of the best British TV shows ever. And now he's in a Steven Spielberg movie. So overall, I really love Disclosure Day. It's another classic Spielberg movie. It's a great movie about togetherness and how a phenomenon like this can bring everyone closer together and make us understand life just a little bit more. I loved its realistic depiction of how the world would react if we discovered aliens. I loved how it delved into how certain religious groups would react. I really loved the main characters. I loved that it was essentially a cat and mouse chase movie. It was shot beautifully. The music was fantastic. The acting was great. I thought Disclosure Day was absolutely fantastic. I wouldn't say it's one of Spielberg's best movies, but it's still a fantastic film and it deserves to be seen in the cinema. Please go and support this movie, guys. I'm going to give Disclosure Day an 8.5 out of 10. And there we go, people. That was the end of this review. If you have seen Disclosure Day, do let me know your thoughts on it. Did you like it? Did you not? Let me know. But I hope you all enjoyed this video, guys. Have a good day, and see you later.